In this school is a time capsule from 50 years ago. Inside are letters left by the school's first students. On the day of the 50th anniversary of the school gave these letters to the students. The students were given drawings, but the boy was given a piece of paper with a mysterious number written on it. The boy sees a man staring at him in the distance, but in the blink of an eye he is gone. Back home, his father sees the numbers. As a professor of astronomy, Cage instinctively wants to study them. He picked out a group of numbers and tried to separate them, looking for the meaning of the numbers. 91101. Booted up the internet and looked it up. The date turned out to be the date of the world-famous 9/11s, and the death toll, 2,996, coincided with the latter number. Was it just a coincidence? Cage wrote down all the numbers on the whiteboard. The numbers were written on the board and, following the same pattern as before, all the numbers corresponded to the dates and numbers of victims of the major disasters that had occurred over the past 50 years. Cage was stunned. Could the person who wrote the numbers down be able to predict the future? And the numbers foretold a disaster tomorrow in which 81 people would die. He rushed to his colleague to help him analyze it, but his colleague thought it was just a coincidence that, because each combination was followed by a series of numbers, Cage could not explain the meaning of the numbers. The colleague tells Cage to calm down. He knew that Cage's wife had died in a disaster. He thinks that Cage has gone off the deep end. The colleague refuses to help. Cage has to find the truth for himself. He finds the only surviving teacher from 50 years ago and wants to know who wrote the numbers. The teacher said that there was a lonely little girl in their class who had gone crazy that day writing numbers like a man possessed, and had become strange afterwards, and that the girl had died years ago. The trail broke again and Cage had to go home first. He stares at the TV news, which will prove his suspicions right if a disaster does happen tomorrow, but he accidentally falls asleep. When he wakes up, there's no disaster except that it's raining outside. There was a heavy traffic jam on the way to the house where his son had called Cage to pick her up from school. While waiting, Cage glanced at the coordinates on the navigation and, to her surprise, the coordinates showed latitude and longitude that matched exactly with the mysterious numbers that followed the disaster. It turned out that each set of numbers represented the date, the number of victims and the location of the disaster. Cage felt that something was wrong. He gets out of his car to ask the traffic officer why he is stuck in traffic, but he looks in his direction with a horrified look on his face.